Oh yeah, fuck. There's another thing I need to do while I'm doing this. Hold on. It's related to the Lion King thing. I just need to see if the file that I ripped for the 94 movie already has the commentary on it or if I need to rip that now. Because I went through that and I have some notes. I'm going to section off parts of that.
Directors, and they
Okay,
were the
so I
ones
do
responsible
have
for.
a copy of the commentary, but I don't want to rip the entire movie again for the commentary, so I could probably rip the audio. Yeah, I just went over that recently because I was like, holy shit, I realized I didn't go over the fucking 94 commentary yet.
It's actually interesting.
There's like a really cool thing that they say here, but I don't know if I'm going to put it in my review or not.
It's actually interesting. No, I was going to say that it's interesting because one of the issues that we had to deal with in this film was, it was taking place in Africa, and although it was animated, how are we going to cast the characters in terms of their ethnic background? So we had James Earl Jones, who is obviously African American, and we have him with a son who is Matthew Broderick, who is obviously not African American, and yet we have Nikita Kalame, who is African American, growing up to be Moira Kelly, who is not. So we had this big jumble and big mix-up of characters and things. And what was really interesting, I think, about this film is that we could really, literally be colorblind as far as it not mattering at all. It was really about who the character was, who the performer was, and what they brought to the character.
Yeah, it's almost a nice commentary on how everyone's voice blended together to create this piece of theater.
Also, we have Jonathan Taylor Thomas as the voice actor for Simba, and when we go into the song, he becomes Jason Weaver.
Oh, right. Yeah, who played Michael Jackson.
Yeah, but like, here's the issue. Even though I completely 100% agree with everything that they're saying here, is like the performance, how well they fit with the character, like those should be the qualifying deciding factors in terms of who gets the role, not let's fill a quota of, or care about which race is which, because it's like animated lion cartoon characters, whatever. I agree with that, but there's a lot of people that would include something like this in their video and be making the same arguments that are doing it because they don't like how many black people are in the remake, right? And so I don't want to sound like too much like those people, even though I completely agree with, the idea that the casting should be colorblind or could be, but like, because the remake is going from mostly white casting to not mostly white casting, it's just going to give the wrong impression to some people. And I don't think it's like that important, so important that I would need to include it, that I want to deal with more people pretending that I'm racist for, there's enough people that fucking don't watch my content, but will share a clip of me on Twitter talking about the music that I liked in Moonlight and say, he's racist.
You could probably get away with it if you worded the point well enough.
I could get away with it if I worded it well enough, correct, but that would require me to spend a lot of time on this single point that I really don't think is so important to what I'm communicating about the review. I agree with them, but it's not something that I need to communicate. It's not really a part of... I don't really give a shit if there's more black people in The Lion King. I don't want to come off in a way where it seems like I'm implying that the casting and acting was bad because they were meeting a quota, which they obviously were because they're Disney and they were trying to be woke, and they were like, okay, if we replace Nathan Lane, it has to be with another gay guy. We're going to replace him with Billy Eichner, right? We cannot replace any black characters with white people. We can replace any black actors with white people. We cannot do that. We can replace white actors with black actors. They obviously did that, but that's not why the performances were bad. Like, they were bad for completely other reasons. Like, fucking James Earl Jones was bad even though he reprised his role. So it's not really relevant to all of the points that I want to make. And although I could like probably score some points with some of my like conservative watchers by including that in the review, I mean like it just doesn't seem that important to what I'm trying to communicate. And B, I'm probably already scoring a couple points with them for the whole woke ban bossy part in the review anyway, because I do cover woke Disney and I mention that they're only being woke as long as they don't have to change their movies for Russia and China sort of thing, right? So yeah, like the race doesn't matter to me so much that I'm not even going to bring up the race in the film. But I don't disagree with what they said here at all. I don't disagree with anything that they said here. Colorblind casting, I think it's sensible. I think it makes sense. Some might argue that this might inherently, because of subconscious biases, this might favor white actors over black actors. That is an interesting point to make. That is a valid point to make. I don't know the specifics on that. I am not a fucking expert on this shit, but you could make that argument and I would say okay. But in concept, in principle, the idea of having people being cast for their talents and not the color of their skin, if we remove any potential subconscious, unconscious biases, whatever, blah, 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 blah. If we ignore all of that shit that's potentially happening in whichever year we're going to make this hypothetical, then I like the idea of colorblind casting. Anyway. Oh yeah, this is important. I think it's going to make the review a lot better. I'm glad I watched the commentary, because like I think it adds a bit more of like a punch to it. When you hear the filmmakers of the original saying things that like completely fucking contradict the philosophy of how they made the fucking remake, right? Uh-oh. That's really weird. Oh, this is like Spider-Man and the fucking train. This is like Spider-Man trying to stop the train from... I love this face, though. That's a great expression. I love how the fingers, like, turn into just feathers only. That's so funny. Animation's crazy. It's like he shouldn't have hands, he's a bird. But he's got hands, you know? Anyway.
And he has to recognize her.
He has to recognize her, and so we thought, well, wait, she should do something physically that he would remember. So that was what we ended up with.
It's so important.
Flip.
The nullify, yeah.
Notice how the art direction changed too. It's kind of bright sunny day above, and then
It's so important, and the remake just didn't do shit there. There's like no good reason why they recognize each other. This is a really funny frame. This is like, I heard you was talking shit, you know? This is like Long Cat. Anyway, yeah, so like even in the first movie, she's like, the reason I'm using this shot here, is because in this scene, like, she's still in charge of the hyenas. She wasn't any less of a girl boss in this movie. Like,
Shut up. can't help it. I'm so hungry. I gotta have a wildebeest.
Stay put.
Look, can I just pick off one of the little sick ones?
No. We wait for the signal from Scar.
Like, she was already the boss. So it's just weird that, like, it almost seems like the whole idea of, like, Scar not knowing the hyenas was to justify this. Right?
His father could be alive.
And it's, you know, one of the most sensitive issues in the film is literally dealing with the death and whether or not to deal with it off screen, which is a choice they made in Bambi. And we decided to go purposefully the opposite direction. For
This is like one of the most like ballsy, risk-taking Disney movies ever. Really, it might be the most, because like I think it was because they were like the B film, because they weren't the Pocahontas, that they were able to get away with a bit more. You know, like they were able to be like, yeah, we're gonna show like the main character's dad dying on screen, basically. You know, like the dead body's there, and he's gonna like curl up with the dead body, and like, yeah, they had more freedom since they were expected to fail. Isn't that so sad? Like the more like a studio sees like a financial investment in it, you know, the more that they're being like, well, we can't do anything risky because we're looking for a return here, right? Like that's what Pocahontas was. So yeah, it just, money kills art sometimes. Like you need money to fund art, but like maybe what I'm trying to say is that greed can kill art, you know? Holy shit, he's long. Damn, that's a long boy.
Adam, do you struggle with hair in your mouth? It's a dumb question, I know.
Do I struggle with hair in my mouth? No, I ask them to shave their pubes first. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Sometimes, I don't know. I wouldn't say struggle. Sometimes I get hair in my mouth. 57 minutes here.
Have fun, son. All
We're
right.
this whole confrontational scene with Nala where she's saying, oh, what about your family back home and all this sort of thing, and the comic character is saying, you're the king. We decided we wanted to ease from the afternoon colors, the golden light. Can't completely break up because there's a love song coming up. And you know, there's all these masters that scene had to serve, and it was one of the toughest, and just in terms of storytelling and writing, to do it in a very compact, clear way for the audience to understand.
Don't know who.
They do such a great job with the lighting in this movie, which is crazy because Jon Favreau fucks it up.
That was a very early session too.
That was very early on. I also think this was one of the most difficult writing moments to arrive at.
Thank you so much.
Because we wrote this scene
For the subs.
many, many times and boarded it many, many times because so many things had to happen in this little 3-minute scene. Simba and Nala meet. Pumbaa and Timon know who she is. Their lives together as bastards are threatened by her. She punches Simba's buttons and says, why haven't you gone home? And yet they can't completely break up because there's a love song coming up. And you know, there's all these masters that scene had to serve, and it was one of the toughest, and just in terms of storytelling and writing, to do it in a very compact, clear way for the audience to understand.
It's like, I don't think people understand just how perfect The Lion King is in terms of like how it tells its story. There's so much that they compacted in such an efficient way that like just like it's really difficult for most people to appreciate until you like actually break it down. Thank you for the gift subs, by the way. But I mean, that's part of what I'm doing in this video is like really just breaking it down. Here's my favorite part of this commentary is what they say here. It's so funny.
Feel the moment very, very much right here where they roll down the hill.
And then she has her come hither look in a minute.
There she is. Wow, what a cat.
Yeah, that's actually another class.
There she is. Wow, what a cat. Thank you, Don Han. he's like, yeah, I'd do it. I'd hit that. Don Han, representative furry of the filmmakers, I guess.
Then she has her come hither look in a minute.
There she is. Wow, what a cat.
Then she has her come hither look in a minute.
There she is. Wow, what a cat.
Yeah. That's actually another.
He's got the hots for Nala. He's Eddie Redmayne. Oh yeah, this part's really interesting coming up here. And for fucking sure they fucked this up in the remake.
Haven't certainly.
Because they removed what it's calling back to. Anyway.
Okay, so this is Simba going into. It's interesting because what we talked about is this whole twisted, gnarled vine area was sort of to reflect Simba's unconscious mind, that he was literally going back, peeling through the layers, weaving through.
See, this is great. This is exactly why I listen to the commentary, is because there's a lot of things about me watching this film and my interpretations of watching this film that are justified by the commentary, where I was like, okay, I think this. And that's what kind of prompted me to go through this commentary for the 94 movie, because even though I'm not going through it to be like, oh yeah, here's what stupid shit they said, like with the Jon Favreau one, there were things about it where I was like, oh, this is my interpretation, but I should see what the filmmakers said about this scene, right? And so I'm very happy to be vindicated in ways in scenes in this, which it will be great to have, showing supporting arguments for what I'm saying anyway.
Okay, so this is Simba going into. It's interesting because what we talked about is this whole twisted, gnarled vine area was sort of to reflect Simba's unconscious mind, that he was literally going back, peeling through the layers, weaving through to go back to get to sort of the center of his problem.
Right, where he had buried and suppressed that whole thing about his father. So he's going through therapy.
The counterpoint to the scene earlier when he was a cub, when he was actually escaping from his homeland through the thorns in the thicket, this is the beginning of his journey back.
In fact, I had Ruben Aquino and Tom Bancroft. They had to mimic each other's scene, so it is literally this one of the scenes is exactly the same. That there's a vine.
And here's Fluffy, Simba and Nala's new little cub. Let's just end on Fluffy.
Right.
I was surprised.
I like how they call it Fluffy. They named the cub Fluffy. I think I'm actually gonna find out when the Laserdisc arrives, because I bought the Laserdisc, so I can listen to the commentary on the Laserdisc. I'm probably going to find out that this is the same commentary as the Laserdisc, because there's a couple things in here that kind of clue into that. The fact that they called this baby lion Fluffy, and then there's another thing that they said, they're like, 5 years ago you couldn't do shading. I don't know if that was them saying 5 years before The Lion King or 5 years before they recorded the fucking commentary track, but we'll find out. I'm hoping that it's a different commentary track, so I didn't just waste a bunch of money on a fucking Laserdisc, but otherwise, whatever, it's a good collector's item.
Thanks for watching. Here are the people that pay $5 and up. I am Gretty, aka Lemonade Warrior, Lord Durham, Kirbymon, Splat, Hoofy Doe, Olivia Spores, Dana, Ocean Machinery, Malav Shah, and Pit Wang. Thanks for the support, and I'll see you later.